Hey, Ebrima, so excited to have you on this call right now. Thank you so much for hopping on here and deciding to share your journey inside Meta Ads at Scale. But before, we dive in deeper, can you briefly describe one or share who you are and what your brand is?
Yeah, thanks, Mason. Thanks for having me on. So my name is Ebrima. I am the founder and owner of an athleisure headwear brand called Brima.
Awesome, awesome. And I believe you started in the program, I think it was November 2024, right? So yeah, if you could, share with the viewers, where were you at kind of revenue wise when you
Yeah.
joined the program? And then kind of what did you hit this past May?
No, definitely. So, prior to joining the program, I was really about 4 months in since I launched my brand online, opened up my online store. And a little bit about the background. My brand was really all started around one product, which is the do-rag. So what my inspiration was, I wanted a more functional do-rag that can offer you more for both being active or just for leisure use. So the whole sense of launching the brand was around that one product. So never ever had a business, never had a brand, do not know about Meta, how to scale ads, complete novice to this. And, just prior to that, we were just basically having creatives and we were just running ads, no real structure, no real system in place, more so just, running ads and basically seeing how it goes. And, Meta is good enough that will give you enough revenue to get to a point. So hovering around 8 to 9K monthly revenue prior to joining the program. Once we joined the program, being able to have a 3 to 6 month roadmap, understand what our clear defined goals would be through each step in scaling, especially scaling at a profitable level, where now towards the end of the 6 months, we hit a 22K month and, would have been more even if simply we didn't run out of stock for our best selling products or our inventory.
Yeah, I feel like that's one thing you ran into quite a bit was that you kept selling out, right? So I have no doubt that, you're going to do massive numbers, once you have those large inventory stocks in place. And yeah, if you could describe, you talked about it a little bit, but I guess what was your strategy before Meta Ads at Scale? Did you have a strategy or you, like you said, were you just kind of like throwing ads up and seeing what would happen?
Yeah, those strategy really, I was trying my best to learn and understand how to set up campaigns, run cold campaigns, manual campaigns, CBOs, mixed versus CBOs, ABOs, but not really, I would say, any real structure. I think main thing was we had really good creatives from the get-go, and I feel like that alone was able to carry, but without having really a structure in place or a way to strategically measure what your performance is week over week and then be able to increase spend where needed, just kind of understanding what it takes. I feel like that was the big differentiator that, Meta Ads program was able to achieve for us.
Awesome. And I would say, how has your strategy changed since joining the program? What do you have in place now inside your ad account?
Yeah, I would say, obviously, I think for way I try to simplify it is, we have our testing evergreen campaigns, which we use to constantly test new creatives and, graduate winners into our now, prospecting campaigns. So it's really being able to effectively test your new creatives. And once you have winners, you graduate those and observe the performance of those graduated winners and then scale that incrementally based on consistent performance. And then also having our dynamic product ads as well. And then interest campaigns. So really having those foundations that through the program we were able to have, that's what really allowed us. I say ads can be inconsistent, but it actually enable the consistency because I'm able now week over week, day over day to kind of see the performance and know, okay, this is where we're at now. This is the performance. So it gives you a baseline to then continue to test to scale. I would say that's been the big game changer for us.
Before the program, kind of we're just throwing up creative, right? But now there's a system in place, right? Where you more or less focus on creative and then you test the creative and then you graduate the winners. And it's kind of like this feedback loop. So how confident are you now in kind of just Meta Ads itself now that you kind of have this system in place?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's from a 10 to like almost a 95 now, I would say, just because you now know that you're not at the mercy of Meta Ads. It's because of the structure and the system you have in place. That's what you trust. You trust that process. And that now eliminates a lot of the times, you would worry like, oh, this is going to tank, or am I just going to not be profitable, not have any profitable ROAS? Well, now once you have a trusted process, and I would say say for us, in terms of, it also didn't happen overnight where we just blew up and ads just went, crazy raw ass, and you really don't know what you did that made it successful. But to incrementally see how testing, graduating, increasing spend where needed, observing performance, and doubling down on what's working. Once you now get to each level from that 8 to 12 to 14 to 16 to 18, that's the confidence I would say that we were able to achieve now by being in this program.
Awesome. I love that. And I think that's so important where, like you said, you have a great product, great creatives, and that can get you some revenue, right? Yeah. But to get to the next level and to continue to scale. And also one of the big things I think that most people don't quantify is stress-free scaling, where you're not staying up at night because you're scared things are going to drop, right? When you have that system in place, you can trust it in a lot of ways and trust that it's going to be consistent as long as you continue to kind of feed the machine. But can you describe kind of time commitment required, in the program for anybody watching?
This is a great place for, first time, I would say as me, first time founders in a program. And especially if you, let's say for me having a full-time job, right? This is what enabled me to scale because it's not a huge time commitment. I would say little to none. I would say really in terms of, your whole week. If you have a dedicated 2 hours a week for this program, I feel like you're doing a great job. So it's really, once you have your system in place, utilizing your coaching calls. So I would say time commitment wise, this is really flexible and allows me to, have my full-time job and grow my business at the same time without not having a stretch on both.
Yeah, I think that's another thing too, is like the goal of this program is to give you a system that you can install in your ad account. So then you get to work on the fun parts of owning an e-com brand, like, whatever that fun is for you. Hopefully, creative is a big part of success. So majority of people, that's their favorite part, or even product development, making new products, right? So our goal is to help you understand that ad so you don't have to spend all your time in the ad account and you can spend time on the things that you love to do. So love that you've been able to do that. And can you explain to everyone watching, based on the results you've had so far, where do you see your brand in the next 6 to 12 months? What is your goal for the end of the year?
Yeah, I would say now having a really strong foundation by following roadmap that was created that got us to where we're at. I think for now it's just, doubling down on having the system and now feeding that system with creatives. You already know what works well, proving creative. So continue to scale profitably. I think that's just a measure by Q4. Really, it's all about preparing now to really take advantage of Q4. So, that's all we're seeing, just incrementally. I don't necessarily put targets on, I want to be at 100K a month. It's more so, how do you get the next extra 1K in revenue profitably? So just incrementally keep increasing and scaling profitably. And, that's just kind of what the focus is towards the end of the year. But we're very confident that, based on the trajectory, once we obviously sort out our inventory, there's a linear scale right now that we have. So yeah, just excited for, the Q4 and what we'll bring now, having a proper structure in place and a system that, we know we're confident in.
Awesome. Yeah, I have no doubt. Again, you're on track to do those 50, 100K months. Yeah, I'm super excited for you. And could you share with, is there anything that surprised you about meta ads at scale, or any misconceptions you had before starting that, kind of anything that was different?
No, it's real though. A lot of brand owners can resonate to this. Your inbox are flooded with everyone claiming that overnight they're going to turn your brand into an 8-figure brand. Everyone has the greatest formula ever created in mankind and everyone knows what matters. So you're cluttered with so much information on everyone claiming to be a specialist. They're going to change your brand overnight. And, over time, you kind of become skeptical. So for me, meta ads was really once we spoke and seeing that, okay, this is not somebody coming in and just claiming that they're just going to perform magic and magically transform your business. So it's just really understanding that, hey, there's a patient. You have to be patient, but there's a process in place that you can trust and incrementally get to your goals. I think that's what you really want to hear as a brand owner. I'm not someone trying to sell you like a dream, but actually show you that with a proven process or system, you can achieve your goals. And I think that was the big differentiator for me. And I would recommend that to any owners when, we're always flooded with people, especially in the meta ad space, so much information. Everyone says this is what you should test, this is what you should do. I think you should just kind of focus on what your own goals are and understanding that, do you have a system or structure in place to meet your goals? If no, where can you attain that? And I feel like joining a program, especially with other brand owners in the same journey, that's what enables you to gain confidence to achieve your goals.
Definitely. And I I myself have bought coaching programs, to better this program actually. And so I'm a huge advocate for joining, whether you're not even joining this program, invest in a good coach, because coaching can just help you move so much faster. And so were you surprised by the results you got in MetaAds at Scale, would you say?
I would say no, actually. I just think that personally, again, I like to see what are strategies behind what, even if you have assumptions before you see the results, you have a strategy and a plan in place and you implement that plan. And then the implementation, you start seeing gradual progress in achieving your goals. So from the get-go, once we have the campaign set up, our initial structure set up, and we hit play on this new strategy, you started seeing the results, although it's not, crazy results, but that's what you want to see. So I quickly gained confidence in the process and what we're doing. And I knew that by month 6, our revenue would double, which happened by month 4. So I think that's, to answer your question, is more so just the foundation that was established gave me a lot of confidence that if this is implemented, there's no reason why you shouldn't meet your goals.
I think a misconception too with people with meta ads is that they think there's some magic strategy, when in reality, as they say, the simple and boring is what gets you the results typically. As much as people want that innovative strategy, which again, we do go over some innovative stuff sometimes, but at the end of the day, it's the slow and boring typically is what's going to get you the results as long as you follow step-by-step process. And so would love to hear from you though, kind of like what's your favorite part about, working with myself and Steve inside MetaAds at Scale?
No, I mean, just the process. I love being in a place where you are learning, constantly learning and being able to, apply. And it's not something where it's just like, okay, you guys just run it for me. And then if results happen, great, but you don't know what happened. So I think it's the learning opportunity for me where, as a first time founder, never really run ads or anything. My knowledge from when I started this program to now, just in understanding ads, how patient you have to be, how, like you said, it's not all about flowers and roses, it's really just, fall in love with the process. Don't be high and low emotionally. I think that's been a big part in just being in a program and having that consistency, because, you can have great weeks and then weeks that are subpar, and that can a lot of times dictate, your mood and your energy and, even your fate in the process. But, as a founder, it's just being on that balance level. Don't get driven by the highs and lows. And being in this program, it's almost like a ground set, because, every week, you're going back, reviewing your strategy. You have the support needed from Steve and you, and just being able to just always stay on that steady level. But, that's actually what gives you that growth, incremental growth over time, where you look back to, like, I'm at 6 months. It's like, okay, you were at like 8K and now we're at 22K plus, once in and just heading to a next level. How do you get there? It's really by just staying consistent. And that's what I feel like this program gives you as a blind brand owner or any founder.
Yeah, definitely. Well, love that you've trusted in the process. And like, that's something that we try to, instill in everybody is, like you said, like e-com it's a roller coaster. It doesn't matter how big the brand is. There's going to be good days and bad days, right? But it's all about execution and trusting in the process. And you've definitely done an amazing job at kind of just sticking to it and incrementally growing and profitably growing, which is great. If someone was on the fence, they're like, they can't decide if they want to join MetaAds at Scale, what would you tell them?
I mean, I was there right there with you. I was on the fence too, because I understand, business, it's like your baby, and you always want to make good decisions when it comes to your business. And this is worse for me. I was on the fence, but, ask the questions. Mason will share you the strategy, run you through, what the process is. This is not just going to be also you. There's a team here. We're all on the same journey. So I was on the fence too. And, now I'm speaking here. I'm saying, if you're on the fence, go for it. I was right there with you, especially as a first time new brand owner. You're having a lot of, reach outs from other people, and you just don't know what's the right decision. I can say personally, I'm glad I made this decision. I trusted Mason, Steve, and the team and the whole program. And I'm just excited for what the next journey is. So if you're in the same position, ask your questions, ask whatever you need to know. But as a founder, I'm just saying that this was one that I'm glad I made the decision.
Awesome. Well, appreciate the kind words, Ebrima. And yeah, I mean, we are an open book here at Meta Ads at Scale. Literally, our success is our brand success that joined the program. And that's why we like to highlight these brands. And we have nothing to hide in this program. We want to help you be successful, and you can ask any question and we won't shy away from it. But yeah, we even have the guarantee too. If we can at least double your revenue, you get to stay in the program for free until we can get you to that point. That's how confident we are. And so thank you so much, Ebrima, for hopping on. Any last words for the audience?
No, thank you, Mason. Like I said to our audience, just e-commerce and whatever you're doing, I wish everyone the best. It's enjoy the journey. I feel like that's just what it is. We can all focus on revenue numbers profitably, which is great, but just enjoy and, be blessed for what you're doing, what you're creating, and the value you're adding to your customers. At the end of the day, that's what everything is all about, So I think just always remembering that is important as we deep dive into, a lot of these different strategies and ads. So just wishing everyone the best. And again, thank you, Mason, for all the support. And, I'm still in this program. If anyone's watching and, if you do join, please reach out to me. I'm happy to share and also just connect as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Ebrima, so much for your time. And I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Mason.